Fazza, the poet prince of love. In the golden heart of Dubai, where the sun kisses the desert and the sea whispers secrets to the shore, lives a prince unlike any other. A man whose words have wings and whose silence speaks in poetry. His name is Fazza, the poet prince of love. He is not merely a royal by blood. He is a royal by heart, a soul that feels deeper than the ocean, a man who turns every emotion into verse. When the world sees wealth, Fazza sees wonder. When the palace shines in gold, his eyes search for meaning beyond material. For him, life has always been more than a crown. It is a poem written by destiny itself. From a young age, he had a heart that beat for beauty, not just the beauty of faces, but of moments. He would sit beside his horses at dawn, writing lines about loyalty and longing. He would walk through the dunes, letting the desert winds inspire his heart to write of freedom and faith. People often said he was born a ruler, but made by love. They were right. Fazza believed that love was not just an emotion. It was the pulse of creation. Every act of kindness, every gentle word, every sacrifice was to him a verse in the eternal poem of love. He once wrote, "If my heart could speak, it would whisper only her name." For love is not found in the palace, but in the heart that listens. But even the poet prince had his storms. There were days when the world misunderstood his silence, when the glare of fame dimmed the purity of his soul. The camera saw his smile, but few saw the poet behind it, the man who stayed awake at midnight, pen in hand, pouring his truth onto empty paper. It was during one of those nights that he wrote his most beloved lines, verses that touched millions. I'm a traveler in love's endless desert, each grain of sand a memory, each star a dream I once held close. His followers across the world began to call him the Prince of Hearts, for his words could mend what life had broken. His poetry didn't just describe love, it became love itself. Yet, behind every poem was a mystery. Who was she? The woman who made a prince write like a man consumed by longing? Some whispered that she was a dream, a muse unseen but deeply felt. Others said she was real, someone who once stood by his side before fate took her away. Fazza never confirmed, and perhaps that was his greatest poetry, the unsaid truth. Those who met him spoke of his humility. Despite his royal blood, Fazza walked among his people as one of them. He listened, he helped. He smiled in ways that felt genuine, not rehearsed. His charm wasn't in his title, but in his tenderness. He was a prince who didn't need to conquer kingdoms. He conquered hearts. As Dubai grew under his vision, so did his legend. The youth admired him for his strength, the elders for his wisdom, and poets for his soul. In a world obsessed with power, he became the rare voice reminding everyone that love, pure, patient, poetic love, is still the most powerful force on. The night was quiet in Dubai. The city lights glittered like a necklace across the horizon. But in the royal courtyard, only one window glowed softly, the window of the poet prince. Inside, Fazza sat alone, his pen resting on a page half filled with words that bled from his heart. The world saw him as a ruler, a leader, a man with everything. But inside, he carried a secret, a love that never found its ending. She was the one who taught him that true love isn't about possession, it's about presence. Her name was never spoken aloud, yet her memory lived in every poem he wrote. They met long before the titles, the fame, and the whispers. She wasn't from royalty, just a soul pure enough to silence the chaos within him. He remembered how her laughter used to echo like music through the desert wind, how her eyes carried peace like the calm after a storm. One evening, under the soft amber sky of Dubai, she told him, "You were born to rule the world, but I only wish you learned to rule your heart." Those words stayed with him long after she left. For reasons only destiny knows, their paths drifted apart. Perhaps it was duty, perhaps it was fate. But Fazza never forgot her. Instead, he turned his longing into art. He wrote verses that healed others, even while he was breaking inside. Some loves are meant to be felt, not held. Some souls meet only to teach us how to miss. Those lines spread across the Arab world and beyond. People recited his poems, not knowing they were pieces of a broken royal heart. But Fazza never sought pity. His love was sacred, too beautiful to be turned into sorrow. He believed that if love was true, it never truly left. It simply changed form, living forever in poetry. Days passed. Seasons turned. Dubai rose higher under his guidance, yet he remained the same, humble, kind, reflective. He often rode his horse into the desert at dawn, chasing solitude. To him, the desert wasn't empty. It was full of whispers. He would close his eyes and hear her voice, soft as the sand itself. Many asked, "Why do you write so much about love?" He would smile and reply, "Because love built me, and love is what will outlive me." Those close to him saw how his poetry shaped his life. He treated people with compassion, valued loyalty above all, and gave more than he ever received. He once told a friend, "Every act of kindness is a verse. Every tear wiped away is a poem written in heaven." It was this philosophy that made him not only a prince by name, but a prince by soul. His people adored him not just for his leadership, but for his humanity. He was proof that even in palaces of gold, hearts can ache, and even among the powerful, poetry can bloom. One night, years later, he found an old letter, her handwriting delicate and untouched by time. It simply said, "If my name ever becomes a poem on your lips, know that I am listening. From wherever the winds have taken me." He closed his eyes, and for a moment, the distance between them vanished. The morning sun rose over Dubai, golden and proud, much like the city itself. The skyline shimmered with light, but within the palace walls the glow came not from gold, but from a man whose heart had turned pain into poetry. Fazza, the poet prince of love, had become more than a name. He was now a living symbol of what love could build, even in silence. His poems had begun to shape more than hearts. They shaped destinies. Across the Arab world, young people quoted his verses to express what they could not say. His words became a bridge between emotions and courage, teaching millions that vulnerability was not weakness, but strength. In every royal event, his presence carried calm. When others spoke of politics, Fazza spoke of peace. When others fought for thrones, he fought for hearts. His belief was simple. To rule a nation, You must first rule yourself. But even as his fame spread like sunrise over the desert, his poetry remained personal. He wrote for one, the unseen muse, the silent inspiration, the woman who once gave his soul its rhythm. To her, every success was a whisper, every verse a memory. One evening, as Dubai prepared for another celebration of its growth and vision, Fazza stood on the balcony overlooking the Arabian Gulf. The wind carried the scent of sea and sand, familiar, comforting. He held his journal close, the pages filled with years of unspoken devotion. He whispered, "You are the reason my silence sings." That night he recited a new poem before his people, a piece that would be remembered for generations. Do not call me a ruler, for love rules me more. Do not call me a prince, for every heart is a kingdom. And if my words find your soul, then know you were the reason I wrote them. The crowd stood silent, their eyes glistening. They didn't just hear poetry. They felt his heart. It was a moment where royalty and humanity became one. People saw not the Prince of Dubai, but a man, open, honest, and in love with love itself. Later that night, he rode into the desert once again, the moon guiding his path. Alone beneath the endless sky, he looked up at the stars and smiled. Somewhere, he believed, she was seeing the same moon, perhaps even hearing his verses in her dreams. He thought of how love had transformed him. It had taught him patience, compassion, humility. It had taught him that greatness was not in power, but in purity. His poems were not written to impress. They were written to heal. "The world will forget my crown," he once said to a close friend, "but not the words I left behind, because words, like love, never die." Years passed. Dubai continued to shine under his leadership, modern, majestic, and full of dreams. But through all the progress, Fazza never stopped writing. Every page carried a lesson, every verse a reminder that even in the rush of modern life, love remains the truest art of all. One evening, a young boy approached him at a poetry gathering. Nervous but inspired, he said, "Your Highness,